Okay, short answer, no, but also yes. Let's discuss. What is a DLC? A DLC stands for downloadable content, and like the name describes, it is extra stuff that you can download onto your existing application. In this case, we are talking about video game DLCs, most commonly in the form of extra cosmetics, mission items, storylines, or just generally more to do within the game. The point of developers making DLCs is to A, keep players invested in their game and company, and B, make more money, but it's more A than B, at least I hope so. In the US, the DLC market has been making more money than packaged games since 2017 and has been increasing the gap ever since, most likely due to more games and add-ons being available from online stores. A well-rounded example of good DLC is Elder Scrolls V Skyrim. Once you complete the main game, there isn't much to do apart from grind to become ridiculously strong and look painfully cool. However, the DLC help give the end game more life. For example, you have the Dawnguard DLC where you fight new enemies in the form of various vampires, bosses like the Vampire Lord, get new weapons and explore new areas. This alone brings so much more life into Skyrim because there is so much more to accomplish. There is also the amazing Hearthfire DLC in which you build your own house from scratch and can even raise a family there as well as the Dragonborn DLC featuring another new story-driven quest line, new enemies, areas and items, as well as bosses. So you get the idea of DLCs. They keep players invested in a video game, building loyalty to the series so they might buy the next title. Skyrim worked well because you didn't necessarily need those DLCs in order to become ridiculously strong and look painfully cool, but they were nice bonuses that fans enjoyed. Some game series don't handle this as successfully, unfortunately. Pay to win. More of a joke among players and a reoccurring problem these days simply as it's so taboo. Most common among free-to-play mobile games because in-game progression is usually a painfully long grind that always can be easily solved by giving the game some of your money. Dungeon Keeper 2014 by EA being one of the worst. You can spend anywhere from 4 to 24 hours of your life expanding the dungeon you own by one tile. But you could always speed up the process by giving the game some of your money. It was deemed borderline unplayable and even misleading as a free-to-play game. Hand of Evil strikes again. When it comes to free-to-play games, they must make money somehow, whether it's making the game purposefully way too grindy or blitzing you with advertisements every now and then. It should never be required in some way that you pay to progress in a free-to-play game. This can be unethical in my opinion, because as much as the developers must make money somehow, making a game obsessively grind heavy where you annoy players with constant wait times to the point where paying for progression seems like the only way to have fun is simply misleading to be called free to play and should be noted more heavily on the App Store, as some of these games promote gambling and can sometimes even end in someone's child stealing money from their parent. An ethical example, League of Legends is free to play, not sponsored. And the only thing that you pay for are champion skins, unless you get lucky with the loot boxes anyway, that you get simply for playing the game. This is entirely ethical because there is no in-game advantage you can pay for, and there is nothing you need to buy for progression. It's all optional cosmetics for the player's satisfaction. I believe player progression in DLCs is essential for getting people to buy it. Whilst games like League and Fortnite make plenty of money off of skins alone, it only works because their core gameplay is seen by the fans to be extremely fun and addictive. In the case of other games like Destiny 1, players did have to buy up to 4 DLCs to progress their story and acquire the same loot as everyone else was getting. Although Destiny managed its player versus player mode separately from light levels, so you won't have an advantage if you had extra content and more light, which is great. Speaking of Destiny 2 did something amazing and made their base game along with the free expansions free for everyone when they released their 4th DLC, Shadowkeep. They made everyone's light levels the exact amount of 750 regardless of how long you have played the game for. Being a long-time player, this saddened me to see all my hours of grinding up to the most powerful light level be freely given to anyone who just comes across the game. But at the same time, I think it's great that they give new players the opportunity to feel as if they are not so far behind everyone else, to the point where there is no point in even playing the game. something GTA obviously does not do. I think you should be able to progress with DLC because as a player that is what we want a lot of the time, especially in single player. But at the same time, progression shouldn't be locked behind a paywall in a full priced game, for that matter. Single player games like Horizon Zero Dawn have expansions that let you move on with the story and experience new things. However, they act more as an additional narrative that, after experiencing full the game, feel more optional unless you are dead set on having the utmost top quality equipment. It's always tricky defining if a DLC is worth the money or not, because a lot of games feel completely worth their value without the DLC. Then other games like Destiny 1 again feel like they need to come with some sort of DLC to even feel like a fully fleshed out game. When either the game becomes needlessly difficult without the use of microtransactions or the game level caps you, so you can't be as strong as the players who have bought all the DLC, then it is entirely unethical. Every player who buys the game shouldn't have to pay more for what they was already expecting. Downloadable content should always be optional. Some publishers just need to find a way to make their add-ons worth their weight in money, without making it unfair to players who do and don't buy it. This has been my thoughts on the ethics of DLC within video games and if they should be necessary for player progression. Thank you very much for listening.